So when I was a lot younger, to be honest with you, I was, and people aren't going to like this, but I'm going to be truthful. I followed Everton back into the Adrian Heath was my favourite player. Howard Kendall, Derek Manfield, Adrian Heath, all them. The only reason why is my dad, born and bred in Anfield, followed Liverpool all over Europe, was obviously a Liverpool fan. One day there was a game on, and I don't know whether it was a derby or something like that, and we were around. I remember, in fact, it was one of the biggest, earliest derbies I remember, and it was Liverpool-Everton, and the date was May the 10th. And I remember going to my Uncle Dave's on the Woodchurch, and we were sitting in his living room, and I was saying, who are you all supporting? And most of them were all like Liverpool, so I just said, I'll go and support Everton. And it sort of come from there. Mum and Dad had a really close friend of theirs, so they were like really good mates. And Alfie Howd, and he was into his football. I think he managed someone out in West Kirby. He was quite prominent in the grassroots football. Alfie Howd, fortunately, he's not with us anymore. And he was a massive Evertonian. Now he had two girls, so when I sort of said I'm going to follow Everton, Alfie sort of put his arm around me and said, come on, son, let's go this way. So I sort of, he encouraged me. I remember him talking about Everton, and I was too young to go to the ground, so that's where the Everton start. But then when I got to an age, and I remember coming home from, I think I was on an apprentice, YTS or whatever it was, and it was a Friday night, and I seen all these people walking down Singleton Avenue. I'm sitting on the bus. I'm thinking, where are they all going? So I get off the bus further down Woodchurch Road. I lived on the Homelands. Well, I still sort of do live on the Homelands. And I get home to my mum says, your tea's ready. And I said, oh, Mum, save it. I'm going to Prenton Park. She said, what for? I said, I don't know. I've just seen loads of people. I want to go and see what it's all about. And she was like, but you've never been? Well, you know, I was this small little wee boy. I was probably about 15, 16. And off at Trungles, and went into Prenton Park and was blown away by, I think we were literally low 4th division, but it was exciting. Went on my own, and I was gripped, not sort of realising, but my granddad, my mum's dad, was a massive Tranmere Rovers fan. We'd spoke about it and stuff like that, and he'd ask questions, and I don't think I was ever interested, but all of a sudden, so then my granddad, known as Dada, he used to then start saying, and I remember once saying, he said, you go in the match, Oh, I can't afford it, Dada, I can't. He said, I'll mug you. I said, mug me? You won't get much from me. But when he said, I'll mug you, what he meant was, and it was an old saying, I'll pay for you to go. Now, in them days, I think I remember it was about £2 to get in. So he used to sort of start paying. Now, my granddad was getting on a bit, and he really was not great on his feet, so he didn't really get out much. So what he did enjoy is after the match or the following night or the following day, whatever, is to go round and talk to him about who scored what and how did it go. So I started getting more and more into it because then he was taking more of an interest. He was asking me questions. Later on in life, his eyesight wasn't as good. His ears weren't as good. Bear in mind, he was now in his 90s, and he'd be at home with me nan, and I'd go round and I'd be, oh, you know, Muri scored this, or I don't know, Yoz had done this and that, and he wanted to know, and he'd wake up in the middle of the night and he'd be asking questions. So I had to go and buy Gilbert Upton's book of stats and everything because he wanted to know all the stats. I'll get a phone call at home saying, who was the guy that had short hair that wore the number 8, but he played in 1970 something, and he played alongside so-and-so, and I'd be like, before my time. But it would bug him because all he was doing is lying there, trying to work out, and all he was lying and thinking about was Tranmere Rovers. So I got more into the stats, I got into the players, and it was all just because he wanted to know X, Y, and Z. And that's where it come from me. I got more involved in the club. I'm just sort of a person that will go and do something. I'm happy to go out the door and go and do whatever on my own and find something to do, and I enjoy it. But when I do stuff, I really get into it. I enjoy it. And I really, really, still to this day, we've all had our up and downs, but I still love Tranmere Rovers and Prenton Park. It's part and parcel of my life. Oh, remember, and we'll go on about the former Players Foundation in a bit, but I remember having a meeting with, unfortunately, the late Peter Johnson, and we were discussing the former players, and one of the meetings he couldn't make, and he sent his daughter, Katie. We were sitting up in the lounge, and she asked me a question and said, "Why are you doing this?" And I said, because my granddad's, looking down at me, and he loved Tranmere Rovers. And I remember him stories going back to when it was New Brighton and stuff like that, and it sort of merged. So my granddad's looking down at me, and he was my hero. And he loved Tranmere Rovers, and he got it into me, and it's through my blood. And he'll be looking down at me saying, "Wow, look, I'm so proud." And still, even talking about it now, gives me hairs on my back stand up. And yeah, my story is my granddad, his name was Fred Perry, my granddad. Just bearing in mind, Matt, not the Fred Perry. I wish. But yeah, my story started. My granddad got a grip, and he enjoyed watching Tranmere Rovers through my eyes.